That's a pretty irritating sound, isn't it? That's a warning that we have been told by YouTube's executives in a phone call to us that we have to put those warnings on if we're going to talk about the pandemic in a way that challenges conventional wisdom. If we say anything that is contrary to the World Health Organization, Theresa Tam at Health Canada, we have to put an irritating warning up. They actually don't tell us to make it irritating. They just say we have to put up a warning, but I'm not putting up a warning under the command of some global company without indicating I'm doing so under some duress. I would never besmirch or defame people we interview or discredit my own views with a warning on them. When I have a political opinion, I don't warn people about them. And if I'm forced to warn people about my views by some godless, rootless, transnational, pro-China, anti-American, anti-Canadian, anti-freedom monstrosity like Google, you're darn straight I'm going to put a warning on it. Sorry, I'm going to put a warning, but I'm going to put a label on it that Google itself has commanded we do that. Thanks for letting me tell you that. It's just afternoon on Friday, October 23rd. For some of you, I saw you less than 12 hours ago as my friend Sheila Gunn-Reid and I co-hosted a live stream TV watching party for the debates last night between Joe Biden and Donald J. Trump. I loved the debate. My expectations were fairly low because I knew the host and moderator was a lifelong, multi-generation Democrat activist. And although it is true she interrupted Donald Trump 5 times more often than she interrupted Biden, that is a refreshing change from the 50 times more often that we have come to expect. And to my surprise, she actually put questions to Biden about his family and corruption, talked about foreign policy, things that the previous debates have not allowed. So I thought it was a good debate. I thought the rule about no cross-talking, each candidate's mic was silenced when the other was going, that helped Trump. Because Trump could stay calm, he didn't have to push back, which some people find irritating because there was nothing to push back against. So Trump was cool, calm, and collected. I thought it was the best Trump has been in a long time. There were some moments where crosstalk was allowed, and it was that crosstalk that yielded the most important exchange of the debate. It was a 90-minute debate, and in the last 5 minutes, a rather strange and obscure question was put by the moderator, the Democrat, to Joe Biden. No, I think it was to Trump. I can't remember who. It doesn't even matter. It was about what they call environmental racism. So we're talking extremely woke intersectionality here. It basically says, well, who has to live near refineries and oil facilities? Well, real estate prices near those facilities are cheaper than, let's say, in a beautiful neighborhood with parks and golf courses, right? What's going to be cheaper, living near the town dump or living near the town waterfront? Obviously, living near the town dump. So who will naturally be in the cheaper parts of the city? Well, people who are poor, and there is some correlation between new immigrants, minorities, and being poor. So the theory goes that environmental racism is because disproportionately minorities live near refineries and factories, and so that's racism, as opposed to people just living where it's affordable. I should tell you that living near a refinery in North America is far cleaner and safer than living in a fancy part of Beijing, if you want to talk about air quality. I mean, it's absurd how clean and safe any place in North America is, but you know, the wokerati have their questions. So it was a question about environmental racism. Trump responded, obviously, by saying, well, those are amazing jobs at the refineries and factories and upgraders and facilities. It's true, those are the well-paying. There are a lot of 6-figure blue-collar jobs out there for people in the skilled trades. I've seen with my own eyes in the fracking business, the amazing ethene plant in West Pennsylvania, multi-billion-dollar plants going up. Like, imagine building a multi-billion-dollar factory in America. This was unheard of before Trump. I mean, it was all who last one out turned out the lights. I remember driving down the highway in Washington County, Pennsylvania, seeing an ArcelorMittal steel mill that was like on skeleton crew, one shift a day, like 5 minutes from being shut down, very, very sad. But then up that same highway is the ethene plant, new multi-billion-dollar investment because of fracking. And I thought, sunset, sunrise. Which brings me to my point. After this weird environmental racism question, and Biden said, oh, well, polluting, it's not nice to live near these polluting places, racist, polluting. Trump just said, so would you shut down the industry? And oh my God, Joe Biden said yes. Here, let me show you the exchange. Take a look.
Safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions, the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final question.
Would he close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the
falls-
oil
By
industry?
the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
Oh, I see.
Here's the deal, but you
That's a
can't
big
do
statement.
that. Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time, and I'd stop giving to the oil industry. I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas. Excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give
right.
it to solar and wind.
We
and
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then
Ohio.
I have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is, look,
Yeah, that wasn't out of context. It was in crystal clear context. The president's question couldn't have been simpler. Will you shut down the oil industry? And he said yes. He said yes. By the way, today the Democrats are furiously spinning that he meant, no. I was just talking about ending subsidies to the oil industry, as if the oil industry is subsidized. But no, it couldn't have been clearer. It was about phase out the oil industry, phase it out, shut it down. I mean, Trump's question was abolish, and he said yes. And Trump said that's a big answer, and Biden said yes. I think that just shows who's really on the side of the working man. I forget the name of the professor right now. I think he's at George Mason University, who has a book called The Republican Workers' Party. What a juxtaposition. Trump is a blue-collar billionaire. Donald Trump cares more about actual blue-collar workers, knows more actual blue-collar workers than any Democrat. Trump, in his previous life, the Republican Workers' Party, by Frank Buckley. We've interviewed him. I'm sorry, I forgot his name just briefly there. Very interesting guy, Frank Buckley, originally from Canada, I think. Yeah, we'll have to have him on again. Same in Canada. You know, the union bosses are all left-wing up here, but the union workers, I'm not talking about government sector workers. Those are fake unions. I'm talking about real unions of working men. Guys with hard hats, guys who work outside, guys who drive trucks, drill rigs, you know, work with the ground, work with their hands, guys who come home at the end of the day tired and sore. Those are real workers. And the grassroots of those workers are for Trump, because he's the only one standing up to China, standing up to the environmentalists who would shut down things. And I thought that was an incredible exchange yesterday. I see a super chat already by Martin Sable, $5. Doug this week praised Kathleen Wayne during question period. Amazing how fast he forgets the bad treatment Rob as mayor got from socialist win, rebel number one. Oh, you're so right. Doug Ford, I don't even know who he is anymore. And I think that he's alienated his base. When the Toronto Star turns against him, when the media party and the political establishment turns against him, oh, and they will, I think he'll look around and say, hey, Ford Nation, where are you? And they'll say, we're busy being yahoos. Speaking of yahoos, I want to show you a new product that just arrived in our office today. You know, I don't really wear masks. There was a brief period in March, April, when no one knew anything. And I wore a mask when I didn't go out a lot. Everything was closed. But I wore a mask, I'll tell you the truth. I wore it a few times Not because I thought it was scientific. I didn't really know. I just thought everyone is so panicky in March, April. There were no mask bylaws by then. By the way, the mask bylaws didn't kick in until August, September. The pandemic was declared in March. It peaked in mid-April. So it was done by May, June, July, August. Only then did the mask mandates kick in. So we got through the pandemic without the mask. In those early weeks, I wore a mask sometimes. Like I remember going to the post office and wearing it, and I remember going into a restaurant to order some takeout food, and I wore it. Mainly just to put other people at ease, because no one knew anything. But now we know that the virus, I mean, stopping a virus with a cloth mask is like thinking a chain link fence will stop a grape. I mean, the size of the virus is so tiny compared to the fabric, it's a joke. And I really resent the mask ideology. I want to tell you that I wear this little mask exemption button. I don't know if you can see that. It just says I am exempt and then maskexemption.ca on it. I didn't want to wear this because I don't really wear buttons. Like I don't wear things on my, I mean everyone knows what I think, but I don't go around wearing a button like I wouldn't wear a political button. But I put this on and I go out and about and I feel healthier mentally. I feel less stress. I feel less antagonism because that whole, where's your mask? Put on your mask. Where's your mask? Put on your mask. You're not wearing your mask. Put your mask over your nose. I feel like this preempts all that and just calms everyone down and just removes 90% of conflict. In fact, I have never had a conflict with anyone. I mean, I think I told you the other day, I was in the Kawarthas. I put this on. I went into the Sobeys. Not even a look askance. Not even a sideways glance. This is your ticket to mental health. And I think I might have told you that I keep an extra one in my pocket. So if ever someone says, rah, 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 put on your mask, that person might be a scold, or that person maybe just as likely wishes that they were exempt too. So I'm ready. I haven't been asked yet. No one's accosted me. But if they ever do, I got one in my pocket and said, here, you can have one too. Because part of the rule of law and part of our sense of fairness is that the rules apply to everybody. That's why it was so incredible when Doug Ford had people over at his cottage, when Doug Ford went to the wedding, when Justin Trudeau crossed provincial lines and mixed households, and when Sophie Trudeau gave or got the disease from Idris Elba in a meetup in London. I mean, all these fancy people, Tony Blair in the United Kingdom, not quarantining, the head of Costco not quarantining. One rule for the little people, another rule for the ruling class. And there is something fair about laws applying to everyone. And so there is sort of a conservative streak, you could even call it the rule of law, that if they saw me with a mask exemption, they would say, hey, how come I can't get that too? There's a form of justice there. So my answer is you can get that too. You can. And like I say, I've never been accosted when I wear these. But if I ever am, I got another one to hand it out. But let me show you. There are some places where you have to wear a mask. Schools, for example. And I don't know if there's some exemptions that are allowed. There's certain places you just don't want to fight, and they're going to fight you. So we came up with an idea of a mask that you wear under protest. Most of the time, you don't have to wear a mask. You can be exempt. By the way, I don't know if we've gone there lately, but maskexemption.ca, we have a website that has every mask bylaw in the country, including the mask orders for airplanes. So you can go to maskexemption.ca and you can find the exemptions that apply to you. We also have cards and stuff. So do we have a list of, yeah, look at the little, do you see all the jurisdictions there? Airport, Winnipeg, Nova Scotia, like there's a bunch of rules there, Quebec. And then we have a chart there. We should probably have the lawyer. We have a lawyer, a young lawyer, who makes that chart for us. We have advice for shopkeepers. This is really a lot of information here. I'm going to make sure it's up to date because there are some changes in bylaws sometimes. Anyways, so really, in most instances, you don't need to wear a mask. There is an exemption. I mean, and in Toronto, the exemption is wonderful. I still think the law is awful. But basically in Toronto, there's a list of exemptions, but the most powerful point is no one's allowed to ask you to prove you're exempt. So in practice, de facto, if you say you're exempt, you're exempt. If you say you're not exempt, you're not exempt. It's up to you. And shopkeepers are not allowed to play cop. So it's actually a very powerful law for conscientious objectors. But there are some places where the default state is you got to wear the mask. So what do you do? What do you do if you are in a place that you can't use the exemption, or you just don't, there's too much chance of a quarrel and it's just not worth the fight? Well, what if you, in your compliance, did so in a dissident way? What if you were not exempt from a mask, or rather didn't want to go through the effort of asserting your rights, asserting your exemption, but you wanted the world to know that you were not a person who believes in putting a muzzle on your face because the government tells you to. Not just a muzzle that is unscientific and does not work. Like I say, thinking a chain link fence is going to stop an olive. Oh, here's a little fabric mask, and it's going to stop a virus like one fraction of a percentage of the size of the holes in the mask. A mask that is perhaps dirty, a mask that you're constantly touching. For students, a mask that falls on the floor and you put it back on your face, a reusable mask that you didn't wash this morning. Don't tell me that's, and by the way, all these mask rules came in August, September. So what if you have to comply anyways, but you want the world to know that you are not the kind of submissive person who agrees to be muzzled by the government without indicating your dissent? Well, may I introduce to you a specialty mask that we have ordered several thousand of, and we are selling them on unmask.ca. And let me show you what they look like. I have one here. Can you see that? Masks are useless. Masks are useless. There you go. Masks are useless. The mask, it's a real mask, and it says masks are useless, and in the corner it has unmask.ca in case people want them. Now you still are complying. You're complying. These are unobjectionable. There's no profanity on them. It's a real mask. So the only objection would be that you don't agree. Imagine if someone were to object to this. Now, I guess I've got a flight coming up in a few weeks. So I might wear this on the plane. I wonder if it'll start any conversations. But I tell you one thing, that a mask is a mask. If a mask has a polite signal of political disagreement on it, that in no ways renders it inappropriate, useless, or illegal. So I like wearing my mask exempt button because I don't like wearing a muzzle. I don't want a diaper on my face. I don't want to do that. I don't want to live that way. But if I have to wear a mask, like on a plane, I might wear that. And you know what? I'm not going to give those away for free because those are too expensive to give away for free. We sell them for $25 including shipping. So it's a premium mask, but we think they're pretty cool. And you can get it at unmask.ca. I'm not a mask guy, but if I have to wear one, let my mask itself tell you that I think the whole thing is BS. Which, by the way, was the position of the World Health Organization and its robots, Anthony Fauci and Theresa Tam, until quite recently. They said don't wear a mask until they changed their mind. So what do you think about the masks, people? Do you think, If you had to wear a mask, would you wear an unmask? I like that name, Unmask. That's our website, unmask.ca. Let me catch up with some Super Chats. I don't think I need to tell you what Super Chats are all about, unless there's some new viewers today. A Super Chat is when you throw a few dollars behind your live chat. It makes your chat in a bright color and appended to the top of the little chat window there. And YouTube gives us 70% of the revenue, so it's an important source of dough for our completely independent company. Andrew Reed chips in $1. Thank you, Andrew. CPass, $5. Has Biden been watching Canadian politics with his comment, "You can't walk"? And oh, is that from last night? I'm rereading those, or those? You know what? I'm sorry. I'm rereading last night's Super Chats. Let me get to today's. I already read Martin's. Timothy Powell's, £5. Sheba Dog saying good job while raising his thumb up. That's that's Justin describing the emoji. So if I don't see your Super Chats in real time, what happens is Justin makes a note and he sends them to me. So I was just reading the description there. I think Timothy was hoping that it was looking like a cat, perhaps, but it's a Sheba Dog. I think I hurt some feelings amongst cat lovers yesterday, and I'm just going to end the sentence there. There's no and or but. I'm just going to end the sentence there, because that's the complete thought. Dr. Five, $5. Why would you do that? She sounded disappointed that he let the veil slip. No, I don't think so. I don't think the host sounded disappointed. Let's give credit where it's due. I think she was curious. I think she realized that Joe Biden opened up a can of worms, and she wanted to hear a little bit more about it. Give her credit. Kate, $2. Where can I get one? Unmask.ca. Is that right? Unmask.ca. I think that's a cool URL, by the way. Arbohan1, $5. If people pass away from a government-mandated vaccine, shouldn't the government be charged? Anything mandatory should include responsibility. Oh, exactly. And there's videos out there. I bet you could find it in 30 seconds where Bill Gates says he wants the whole world vaccinated and he wants governments immune from indemnity. Can you find that? I know I didn't describe it very well, but there's a lot of clips out there of Bill Gates saying, I think if you put in YouTube, Bill Gates vaccine indemnity or waiver or liability might be the good word. I want to show you, yeah, they're planning on jabbing everyone in the world. Bill Gates has a plan for you. Aren't you lucky? As I said yesterday, the risk of people under the age 20 from dying from the virus is literally 1 in 10 million in Canada. And that one kid who passed away had deep underlying conditions, so it's probably even less than that. Do you think that jabbing a vaccine in the arm of 10 million people under the age of 20 will have a greater or less chance of killing than the virus? The virus killed one person in Canada under age 20. One. Do you think the virus vaccine is going to be so safe that it's only going to kill 1 in 10 million people? I'm sorry, I just don't think so. A hastily manufactured virus, possibly even manufactured in China. The virus, I'm not going to say it doesn't kill any children, because you can count on one hand's finger, well, you can count on one finger the number of Canadians. It's killed 1 Canadian under age 20. 1! So I can't say 0, because it's 1. And I don't know the American stats. Maybe it's 10 in the entire US of A. But I don't know any vaccine that has a lower mortality rate than that. Let me know if you find that Gates thing, because I want to show people. Margaret Granny McKay, $7. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I think that Timothy Powell, I see it now. I think that was meant to look like a cat. All right. As you may know, every day when I sit in this chair, Justin, our producer editor, puts a little list on a piece of paper of possible topics, because he's been following me on Twitter or whatever, and these are things that I may wish to expand upon. And he's been working with me long enough that he really knows my way of thinking. I see a new super chat here from KV Mama, $10. After just having surgery, I'm actually interested to see how they handle me not wearing a mask. Also found out that I've never had COVID after not wearing a mask for 7 months. Sherry Bruns, $7. What about having the repeat offenders and hardcore offenders be guinea pigs for the vaccine? Well, it's funny you say that because, of course, they let all the criminals out of prison in the name of the pandemic, but they jailed or wanted to jail or certainly at least arrested people for not wearing a mask. So if you're an actual criminal, get out of jail. If you're a maskless criminal, normally it's a masked outlaw, the masked man, the Lone Ranger. Normally it's the bad guys who wear masks. Now it's the bad guys who don't. You know, I live in Toronto. Our time zone is called Eastern Time. But our newest recruit is named Avi Yamini, and he lives in Melbourne, Australia, which is 15 hours different. So it's 12:25 p.m. here. I think that means it's 3:25 a.m., so in the dead of night there. So, and it's vice versa. So when I was sleeping last night, Avi was covering a protest in Melbourne, and he uploaded, in the middle of the night, I was asleep, I didn't even know, it was so urgent, he uploaded a video that is a great video, it's a short video. I want to show you what happened down under while we were sleeping. Take a look.
Today I joined the lockdown protests here in Melbourne, and there is a lot to unpack. My full reports will be published as soon as possible, exclusively to Rebel News, so make sure to subscribe to the mailing list at rebelnews.com. And to the Rebel News YouTube channel so you don't miss a thing. Trust me, you don't want to. But right now, I have to share with you one clip, a short clip that happened to me as I was leaving the protest. I found it horrific, and I think you should share it with everyone you know.
We haven't come in today. Hey, can you take him?
Yeah, I can take him. I can take him. Do you want to?
Let me just hand my boy.
I'll take his son. Do you want me to take him?
Yeah, take him.
Give me. He wants to give me his son. Give me his son. Give me his son. I'll take his son.
Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let's go.
I can't come now unless I give him.
Let's go.
Police didn't let me take the kid. I know the father. His name is Tony Pecora, because he happens to be one of our plaintiffs in Monday's Supreme Court challenge. Say victoria.com.au. You can check all the details there. But you need to understand, Tony's crime today, he was arrested for allegedly breaching his bail by not wearing a mask. Tony's on bail for previous protests, and part of his bail conditions is he must comply to the Chief Health Officer's directive. But today, Tony didn't join the protest, so they couldn't get him for that. He stayed back alone with his 7-year-old child, and he filmed from afar.
Look at that, there's about 30 people in there, and look at all the police.
No, maybe now 28.
What do you think about this, Sonny? Sonny, what do you think about this?
What do you have to ask me?
However, when police approached Tony and his child, they challenged him about not wearing a mask. When Tony showed them his doctor's certificate, an exemption, they didn't accept it and used the non-mask compliance as the basis to arrest, cuff, and detain the young father with his scared child holding onto his arms. That is one of the plaintiffs who has been arrested with his son in his hand. And I tried to take his son and wasn't allowed to do that. That is the state of Victoria in 2020 because of what? Of one case of coronavirus. That's right, one case today of coronavirus. A father arrested in front of his small child and dragged along with him. If you're okay with that, there's something wrong with you. If you like...
What do you think of that, eh? As you heard there, Tony Pecora is a friend of the Rebel in that we have agreed to crowdfund a constitutional challenge, the first court date of which is on Monday in Melbourne. Tony Pecora, and there is another plaintiff, Carrie, I think is her name. She has the Toot to Boot t-shirt. So these two people are the nominal plaintiffs in a constitutional challenge. So obviously their rights were infringed, but they're challenging the Constitution on behalf of all Australians. Challenging the law. The law in particular is the anti-protesting law. So the police in Melbourne will arrest you if you violate certain health orders, but protesting has nothing to do with health. But they're using the pandemic as a premise to arrest, handcuff, ban, whatever, people just for protesting. Now, you haven't done anything like that. Can we show the toot to boot lady, if you can find it? There was a lady who was walking around Melbourne by herself in sort of suburban sidewalks, so it wasn't like densely packed central business district. I'm talking on sidewalks where there's no one else around, it's only cars there, very wide, very open. She has a sign that says, very funny, toot to boot, as in as in honk if you want Dan Andrews, the tyrannical premier, fired. And she drew a funny picture of Dan Andrews. And that's all. That's all. I think she was wearing a mask. She was by herself. Australians are allowed to go out for exercise for an hour a day. They're so lucky. Their masters are so generous to them. So this lady, I think her name is Kelly Cotterill. I'd have to check from memory. She's got a sign that says toot to boot. Arrest her. And then Tony there, arrest them. But you saw it doesn't, we don't even need to show the toot to boot. He's got his 7-year-old son with him. Avi says, I'll take the kid. I mean, you don't want that kid separated from his dad. You don't want that kid in a police car. You don't want that kid in a jail. You don't want that kid handed off to a bunch of cops. At least that kid knew Avi and could trust Avi, and Avi would take care of the kid. The cops wouldn't do that. I don't know if the cops arrested the kid, but de facto, when you arrest the dad and force the kid to be with the dad, how's that not arresting the kid too? In fact, both Avi and the dad seemed fine with the kid going to Avi. Why didn't the cops permit it? Are you troubled by that? I think we should be, right? It reminds me of the case in North Bay, Ontario, when the single mom was at the playground, not even a protest, a playground with her daughter. Some snitch called, cops come, arrest the mom, put the mom in the back of the police car, separate the daughter from her mom. The daughter says, am I getting a new mummy? That's not funny. That's the saddest thing you've ever heard. Why are they arresting my mom? Why are they handcuffing my mom? Why are they putting my mom in a police car? Why are they separating me from my mom? Because I was in the park? Are you mad? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is a time of madness. So that's what I woke up to. That's what Avi was up to while we slept. So we told you a little bit about the debate. We told you about Avi's protest. We told you about the masks. Talked about fossil fuels. You know, there was an 83-year-old lady in the United Kingdom who was caught on BBC, not caught. BBC just talked to her on the street. And you know, there still are some sensible Brits left. I don't know if there's any sensible Brits under the age of 70. But this lady's 83 and she's got common sense. Do you have that one handy? Here, take a look at this.
I think it's all ridiculous. We should never have been in lockdown. All the people who are vulnerable should have been helped and kept on safe. And all the rest of us, I'm 83. I don't give a sod. I look at it this way. I've not got all that many years left of me, and I'm not going to be fastened in a house when the government have got it all wrong. How can we get the country on its feet, money-wise? Where's all the money? By the end of this year, there's going to be millions of people unemployed, and you know who's going to pay for it? All the young ones. Not me, because I'm going to be dead.
Plain spoken, self-deprecating sense of humor, a lot of common sense. Boy, I'd be happy to have her as Prime Minister. Boris Johnson, the greatest disappointment. I used to like Boris Johnson for 7 reasons. Now I only like him for 2, one of which is that ridiculous interview he did. I won't show it again unless we have it handy, of him painting milk cartons. It's just the most bizarre interview you ever see. So what do you think of the unmasked.ca? Would you wear this? Are there any instances, in your opinion, where you must wear a mask? And if there were, would you wear masks are useless. We'll see, because we got a few of them for sale on onmass.ca. I have another shirt here I want to show you. It's completely unrelated. This is a shirt. It says, "Don't eat me." I haven't worn this yet. And what's that all about? It's got nothing to do with the pandemic. That's at catherinemckenna.com. Can we go to catherinemckenna.com? Don't eat me, short sleeve unisex t-shirt. That's because Catherine McKenna, the former environment minister, ate a dog. She just ate a dog. And the dog whisperer. Yeah, keep your dogs away from Catherine McKenna, especially if they are really good looking dogs. Don't eat me. Ruff, ruff. Don't eat me. A bit of an inside joke, I suppose, but I've seen people wearing them. Granted, those people are here at the office. I have seen footage of tons of people wearing our mask exemption buttons, and I hope they find them as psychologically beneficial as I do. Let's see what the masks are useless masks do. Dad Twist chips in 50 smackers. Stay safe, rebels and listeners. Thank you for those kind words. Yeah, staying safe. We spend a lot of money on bodyguards on every given week. This week we had 2 bodyguards for David as he went into a park, and we had a bodyguard for Drea. We have to do that because Antifa-style leftists attack our people. Jack Krauser, $7. Nice haircut, Ezra. That woman is right. These old people fought for our freedoms. They don't want this. Thank you for the kind words on the haircut. I sometimes make the joke I have to lose 20 pounds quickly. Let's get a quick haircut. And it's easier than actually losing weight. All right. Well, you know what? I'm looking at the list here. And we have some more super chats. I'm just wondering which way to go. I think I have to go with topic number 1. So I'm going to take care of the super chats, and then we're going to spend 20 minutes on topic number 1. I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. Let's just look at the super chats first. Chris Marchese, $2. How do we get Trudeau out of office? Well, you need an election for that. And you need a strong opposition party for that. I don't know if we have that. You need that strong opposition party to make the case. I don't know if we've done that. Other than Pierre Poilievre, has there been a single conservative politician who's made the case? Certainly not on the big issues of the day. On spending, Pierre Poilievre has. Do you have a media that's going to be critical? Compare the heckler media in the United States with the bought and paid for bailout media in Canada. There's no media in Canada that opposes Trudeau. They're all on the payroll. How about institutions? How about lawyers? How about professors? How about what little, pop culture we have in Canada that's truly Canadian? How about social media? No, none of these things are against Trudeau. They're all fine with the blackface groper, pothead who was staying at home for 6 months playing PlayStation while, the country was under lockdown. Everyone's fine with that. So, Chris, I don't know how we're going to get him out of office. Bill Howie, $5. The BC election is tomorrow. Will you be doing a live stream like you did with the Alberta election, to be fair? That's a good question. Were we thinking about it? We were thinking about it. It's so late here because the polls close at 9 Pacific, is that right? 8 Pacific, so that's 11 out here. By the time the results are in, it's like 11:30. I'm up for it. I don't want to compel you. Like, that is a late night. That is a Saturday night. Saturday night's the night where you throw on the unmask and you go out and you go to all the restaurants you wish you could visit. That's what you do on a Saturday night. You put on the mask, you get all dressed up, you have a shot, you get a haircut, you're looking good, feeling fine, put on your tightest jeans. I'm just talking personally. You may have a different Saturday night. Put on your unmask and go drive around all the bars, nightclubs, and other social places where you could go in normal times and you can't go now. That's a hell of a Saturday night to me. So I don't know. after let's have a talk if we want to do BC. You know what? I mean, I know that my Saturday nights are about as exciting as, well, I mean, they're normal, right? I mean, when you're a dad, it's not like, woo, I'm 21, I can finally drink and go to a bar, I got a car, and, you know, although I have been known to dance. I have been known to dance. Now, my center of gravity is slightly different than it was. The pandemic, I put on 20 pounds during the pandemic, I think you can tell, which is why I had the haircut today. But occasionally, my Saturday nights are not boring. Way back in the 20th century, I was known to cut a rug. I've shown some of you this before. Can we get the side-by-side vid? Do we have that one? You know, if Donald Trump, who is 74, I'm 48, so he is 26 years older than me. Oh my God, I feel so old just said. Trump is only 26 years older than me. If he can cut a rug, first of all, he looked great yesterday in the debate. High energy, very sharp. When he said, look, I got the bug and I recovered, Barron got it, we barely even knew it, his son Barron. That's true. And I think in some ways he's sharper, tougher, better than he was before he got the virus. The guy can't stop dancing. So we did this little mashup. Take a look-see.
That man coming at you. We just want to pick up QTB. Bob Sinclair. It's a dance thing, you see me? Somewhere you just bounce up. Yeah. Everybody dance now. Let's go. Oh. Let's go.
Yeah, I didn't quite grab my leg there. That was at the Sun News Network. So that was about 6 years ago. What do you think of that? That's a great song. Did we show the TikToks on the... We did. I think we should show them again. I think we got to show them again. So the Trump dance there, the dance I was doing there was not a sustainable dance for a man of my gravity. You do that in quick bursts, and then you go to the hospital for oxygen. But Trump has a lower energy, more sustainable endurance style of dancing, and it's got the kids going crazy. It's like, I can mash potato, I can do the twist. So what's the latest dance? You know, I'm gonna whip, I'm gonna nay-nay. That's like 5 years old. What are you even talking about? No, the kids these days don't even know how to whip or to nay-nay. Like you might as well be talking ancient Greek. Hey, you gonna whip? You gonna nay-nay? What are you, grandpa? No, no, no. The kids are doing the Trump. Take a look-see.
Oh shit, shake it, that's one moving like a gypsy. Stop, oh, back it up, now let me see your hips. Oh shit, shake it, that's one moving like a gypsy. Stop, oh, back it up, now let me see your hips. Oh shit, shake it, that's one moving like a gypsy. Stop, oh, back it up, now let me see your hips. Oh shit, shake it, that's one moving like a gypsy. Stop, oh, back it up, now let me see your hips. Oh shit, shake it, that's one moving like a gypsy. Stop, oh, back it up, now let me see your hips. Oh shit, shake it, that's one moving like a gypsy. Stop, oh, back it up, now let me see your hips. Oh shit, shake it, that's one moving like a gypsy. Stop, oh, back it up, now let me see your hips. Oh shit, shake it, that's one moving like a gypsy. Stop, oh, back it up, now let me see your hips.
My favorite move is, huh? Like he's got a little bit of the chicken dance and he goes, huh? 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 So yeah, but that's a sustainable dance for a 74-year-old man. My everybody dance now moves was not a sustainable dance for a long period of time, unless you are in elite condition. Trump and I are, neither of us are in elite physical condition. New super chat. A few coming in here. Matt B, 300, $5, sends a mess. The Young Dundas Square tomorrow. I will buy one for sure. I bet lots of other people will too. That's not a bad idea. You know, we can't give them away. They're too expensive to give away. You know, the pins we give away, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's logistically easy to sell them, but I'd be open to it. I'd be open to the idea. I'll talk to our team here. It's just like a lot of handling money and cash and hassle and getting change and stuff like that. Maybe we sell a little bit cheaper in person because we don't have to ship it. So maybe we just sell them for $20. Everyone's got a $20 bill. Maybe that's the way. Let me see if we can muster someone. C182 OPR, $5, bought 2 masks. Will now retire my Karen Guard paper mask. Oh, good. Well, let me know how the reaction is. We literally just received these in the office today. Unjust on Trudeau, $5. When will election results be available in BC and Saskatchewan? There's lots of mail-in voting happening. I haven't put a mask on yet. Don't plan to. If it's accurate that the polls close at 8 p.m. BC time, that means 11 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know. I mean, if it's a landslide, you could have, or if it's very clear, you could have the results in half an hour. If it's tight, which I don't think it is, it would take an hour or more. I'm open to it. I just, you know what, I know it can be a little exhausting. How long do you go up for? I'm open to it. I'm open to it. I just don't want to compel others. I thought last night was a great live stream, the watch party we had for the debate. All right, it's 12:46. I've been avoiding this next issue because I find it somewhat tiring. But that is not a reason to avoid it. Every day, I get at least 10 emails about this leaked Liberal memo purporting to have the secret plan that Justin Trudeau is going to use to enslave us all. I have received this from strangers and from friends, from people who are politically amateur and sophisticated political professionals alike. And it's that second part that surprises me. Because to me, this is so self-evidently and manifestly a fake. The fact that politically sophisticated people, in fact, there's one person, I am shocked that they send it, their job is a BS buster. And they charge a lot of money to basically be on guard for BS. I'm not going to say who it was. Let me just say I am stunned. Maybe it's because it's so truthy. It's not true, but it rings true. But the caliber of person who I'm getting this from, it's not just amateur layman. Not that I'm against amateur layman. It's just saying when someone is a professional BS detector and they say, Ezra, what do you think of this? It makes me think, oh my God. 10 a day at least. Are you on any of the public-facing email addresses? No. I get copies of a lot of different email. I get the info@rebelnews.com. I get tips@rebelnews.com. Of course, I get Ezra@rebelnews. So I get like a lot of emails. I can't read them all. Thankfully, we have other folks here who do. There's so many. And I did a video the other day where I said I thought it was a fake. And I think I went through it too quickly because some people were angry that I called it a fake, which is a surprising reaction. And others said I was not convincing. So let's get to it. Let's do it. We're going to go through this now. And I'm going to explain to you why this is fake. But I'm going to take 1 minute first, and I'm going to tell you why I want to do this. I want to do this not because I want to defend Justin Trudeau. You may know that my last 3 books were about Trudeau. You want to call up the Amazon page to show people? My last book, I think I might even have a copy on the table here, I don't, called China Virus, How Justin Trudeau's Pro-Communist Ideology is Putting Canadians in Danger. Do you think I'm on his team? My book before that was called The Libranos, What the Media Won't Tell You About Justin Trudeau's Corruption. Yeah, so there's China Virus. There's the Libranos, huge seller. And there's Trumping Trudeau, how Donald Trump will change Canada. So do you think that I'm running interference for Trudeau? You really think so? We're suing Trudeau in at least 2 lawsuits right now. So some people say, oh, you are just defending Trudeau. Nah, mate, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. Oh, you don't want to motivate people. No, I very much want to motivate people, but I want to motivate them to fight the real problems and the real manifestations of Trudeau's plans, not a hoax. And in general, I want people to get realistic and to do things that matter, not daydream about hypotheticals or fake scenarios. Maybe I shouldn't care. Actually, maybe that's the right answer. Sure, yeah, if you want to believe that this fake memo is a liberal insider telling you the truth about Trudeau. I mean, I suppose in one way, what's the harm? So maybe I should just shut up about it. I mean, why am I carrying the water here? Maybe it does look like I'm controlled opposition trying to defend Trudeau. I just think that if you're spending your emotional energy and maybe your time and maybe your money fighting against something that you think is limiting your civil liberties, how about fight against a real problem instead of a ghost? Instead of playing dress up. I don't know, if you just want to click things and forward things and circulate things on the internet, have at her. It's good for that. But I am going to take the next 9 minutes and tell you why I think it's BS. So I've received this in many different forms. I've received it on Facebook. I've received it on some blogs. I've received it in emails. Some people say, I just received this. Some people say, I found this on the internet. Some people say, cover this. Some people say, what do you think of this? I get 10 versions of it a day. So let's go through it. Dear removed. So this right there, this purports, is there anything above it? Because you can see that this comes from it. Yeah. So let's start right at the top. Right at the top. Yeah, okay. Well, even that's interesting. This needs to go viral. Only each person can decide if this is real or not. Okay, I'll tell you what I decide. It matches exactly what we have all read and research will happen if we don't stop this. This is already happening in other countries. This is a leaker from the Liberal Party of Canada. It purports to be. How do you know it is? And why would you get it of all people? I like this Odessa, by the way. I think she goes a little too far, factually, but this lady, I know who she is. She's a YouTuber in Vancouver. I think she steps over the line between real and speculative, too much for my taste. But I admire her passion. She cares. And you can see that she cares. And that's what this is. Because she's so alert, because she cares. I know this Odessa, or I don't know her personally. I know her work. Why don't you grab her YouTube? I want to show her YouTube. She just really, really cares. And I think what she's doing by circulating, she sort of says is, I don't know if this is real or not. This could happen. Now, if that's how you're describing it, fair enough. This is a possible future. This is a scenario to guard against. This is a dystopian destination. And as the saying goes, if you don't change your course, you're going to wind up where you're going. So if that's the reason for sharing this, this could be a dark future. I get it. Then it's motivating, and it's, oh yeah, we don't want these things to happen. Let's be alert to them. Yeah, throw up a video of her. So a telegenic woman, throw some sound on.
I've met a lot of great guys that a lot of them live up north and stuff. They can't believe this. So please come. We need you guys there too, and we all respect and appreciate you as well. My name is...
All right, that's fine. I just want to, I mean, she's a YouTuber, very, very seized with the pandemic thing. Put back the image back on the screen. Thank you, Justin. So she's saying, I don't know if this is real or not. It's up to you to decide. This is where we're going. This is a leaker from the Liberal Party of Canada. No, it is not. You don't know that. You just said you don't know that. But now you've transformed from speculative to a conviction that it is true. Please contact all levels of authorities and government that we know the plan. The isolation centers, we already know, are being built as shown on the government website RFP program. Now, I did a 13-minute video on that I encourage you to see. There are 11 isolation centers in Canada right now, 9 of which are run by the Department of Public Health. Sorry, the Public Health Officer of Canada. So there is truth there. Forward. LPC's Strategic Committee leak inbox. LPC_leaker@protonmail.com. Original message. Removed wrote, "Dear Removed, I want to provide you some very important information. I'm a committee member within the Liberal Party of Canada. I sit within several committee groups, but the information I am providing is originating from the Strategic Planning Committee, which is steered by the PMO." Now, I'm not even sure if there is a Strategic Planning Committee of the Liberal Party. Wouldn't that be the place to start? I know that there's strategic planning committees in cabinet. I don't think that maybe the Liberal Party has different committees, but I don't think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think that the Liberal Party actually has a strategic planning committee, because that's not its job. So let's just start right there. The Liberal Party has two purposes: raise money for Justin Trudeau's election and field candidates and work a campaign team. So the purpose of the Liberal Party is not to strategically plan government policy. You know, every once in a while the Liberal Party has policy conventions and they debate things, none of which is binding and none of which is important. It's all busy work to give party members the simulation that they're actually involved in making decisions. The only purpose for the Liberal Party is to get Trudeau elected. Money and campaigning. That's all they talk about. They don't have strategic policy planning committees. And run by the PMO, I assume that's code for someone from the PMO, because of course the Prime Minister's office is a government office, wouldn't be running a Liberal Party outfit. But I can assure you that Justin Trudeau looks at the Liberal Party institution with contempt. Its only purpose is to show up at those $1,000 a plate fundraisers where he says, "Thank you for your donation. Thank you for your donation." He doesn't talk to ordinary party members about his strategic plans. He talks to them about, where's your donation and are you door knocking? So from the very beginning, there is no Liberal policy committee that would be involved in a government plan. There are some time-wasty, busy work Liberal policy committees. But this from the very beginning, go back to this, let's move faster because it's 12:58. I need to start off by saying that I'm not happy doing this, but I have to, as a Canadian and more importantly as a parent who wants a better future not only for my children but for other children as well. The other reason I'm doing this is because roughly 30% of the committee members are not pleased with the direction this will take Canada, but our opinions have been ignored and they plan on moving forward toward their goals. They have made it very clear that nothing will stop the planned outcomes. That just everything about that feels fake. So 30% of which committee members, you said you're on various committees, and they're so not pleased, but you're the only one who has this fact, and they're going to go along. The roadmap and aim was set out by the PMO and is as follows. And I'm going to go through this. Do you believe for 1 second, like, why would the PMO tell this to the fundraising and door knocking people? Like, if this is real, why would the PMO say, hey, local riding level association people or party people, let me tell you our plans that are nefarious possibly illegal or unconstitutional and shocking. Let me share this with a wide group of people. Why? That's not how it works. Phase in secondary lockdown restrictions on a rolling basis, starting with major metropolitan areas first and expanding outward, expected by November 2020. Okay, stop right there. I follow the pandemic lockdowns extremely closely. Do you know who makes them happen? Doug Ford, Francois Legault, John Tory, Naheed Nenshi, Don Iveson, mayors, premiers, regional health authorities. Justin Trudeau doesn't. Other than some federal responsibilities, our borders, international travel, some federal institutions. Tell me a lockdown that Justin Trudeau has done. A mask bylaw? There's no federal mask bylaw other than an airline direction. There's no federal mask bylaw. Who made the lockdown in Toronto? John Tory and Doug Ford. Who just stopped a mask law in Vancouver? City Council. So that's just fake. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. It's 101. I'm into this. Let's go through it. Rush the acquisition of or construction of isolation facilities across every province and territory, expected by December 2020. Well, I should tell you, I mean, again, I did a 13-minute video on this elsewhere on the website. They have a plan to build detention centers. They already have 11 of them. And their process, which is outlined on the Department of Public Works website, is to, if they decide to proceed with them, have a request for proposals in March of 2021. So there's a grain of truth here. The federal government is running 11 detention centers with 1,600 beds. And they are planning or considering planning having more. They're not going to do it in the next month. If they do it, they'll do it in the spring. I tell you that not to nitpick, but to say that this guy, whoever wrote this creative writing, he's taken grains of truth and he's built a sandcastle out of them, and the final product, it may have elements of truth, but this is a fake memo. Keep going. Daily new cases of COVID-19 will surge beyond capacity of testing. What does that mean? Including increases in COVID-related deaths following the same growth curves expected by the end of 2020. What does that mean, that daily new cases will surge beyond capacity of testing? That just doesn't make sense in English. You find the new cases by testing. How can cases surge if they're not tested? It's the opposite. The testing is what shows you the cases. And by the way, and maybe you can call up the Ontario COVID stats, the death rate has ticked up very slightly, but it's nowhere even near. There's over 2,000, there's about 2,500 intensive care beds in Ontario with ventilators. So in terms of what's the Armageddon situation for the pandemic, it's about 2,500 people on ventilators. That would exhaust the system. What's the number on ventilators right now? 47. Do you see that there on the right-hand side? Ontario has had 3,000 deaths, sorry to hear it. There are 276 people in the hospital, 78 in ICU, 47 on ventilators. There are over 2,000 beds with ventilators. So I'm sorry it's not surging. This person who wrote this doesn't follow the math. Go down, scroll down. So the caseload is high because they're testing like crazy. Go to daily deaths. Now, daily deaths, you see that second spike. That is government, that's Doug Ford, who said, oh, we're going to count some deaths from earlier months and we're going to put them in October. It was a weird lie. Scroll down a little more. Cases is that blue line. That tiny line at the bottom in red is those in the hospital. And then on the right there, again, in the hospital versus ICU. The stats show, yeah, close this up, thanks. So whoever wrote that memo is not familiar with the stats. Cases exceed testing, that doesn't make sense. Deaths out of hand, listen, we're all sad that people are dying, but I showed you the death stats. They're negligible. They're just a handful of people on it. So you keep going. We're in it. We got to go through it. Complete and total secondary lockdown, much stricter than the first and second rolling phase restrictions, expected by end of December 2020, early January 2020. What does that mean, complete and total secondary lockdown? What does that mean? By whom? Doug Ford is an idiot with his pointless lockdowns, but they're not total. There are some cities here and there and some provinces, but in fact, things are in some like Alberta has moved away from it. Who would do this complete and total secondary lockdown? Reform and expansion of the unemployment program to be transitioned into the universal basic income program expected by Q1 2021. Well, there's no doubt that Trudeau wants to spend like a madman. I think that was true before the pandemic, and he's just taking advantage. Projected COVID-19 mutation and or co-infection with secondary virus, referred to as COVID-21, leading to a third wave with much higher mortality rate and higher rate of infection expected by February 2020. Now, that's just pure science fiction there. Daily new cases of, there's just no basis, of COVID-21 hospitalizations and COVID-19 and COVID-21 related deaths will exceed medical care facilities capacity expected Q1, Q2. So, they're using words like Q1, Q2. They certainly know what they're talking about. I say again, I just showed you the stats. Hospitals are empty. I've never heard of COVID-21, and I follow this thing pretty closely. This is science fiction. And again, as I said when I read the intro that Odessa put on this, if this is just some thought experiment, it's a thought experiment from someone who doesn't know the facts of the real scenarios, that our hospitals are empty, that our ICUs never came close to being full, that testing is actually the source of all the cases. Much of the, can you give me the 50% false positive clip from Deputy Health Officer Jaffe? If you are truly following this file closely, if you are engrossed in the subject matter, if you are informing yourself, which this purported hoax memo claims to be written by such a person, you would know that no hospitals in Canada ever came close to being overwhelmed, that there are thousands of ventilators in this country, that hospitals are empty. What's filling up hospitals now are mental illness, depression, suicide. And by the way, and here's a video I want, this is a real video by the Deputy Public Health Officer of Ontario. I think her name is Dr. Jaffe. Doug Ford standing right there. She says half of the cases, because they're testing so much, they're false positives. Half, you test 100,000 healthy people, you might have 500 false positives. Here, take a look. Oh, we're still loading it. Let me know when you got that, because I want to show people. Again, the reason I tell you this is that whoever wrote this creative writing memo does not know the facts about testing in cases. To say that we're going to overwhelm our hospitals, that isn't, okay, here we go, take a look.
I think a lot of people think that testing is going to really solve the whole problem, and it isn't. It's one component of a response. If you test somebody today, you only know if they're infected today. And in fact, if you're testing in a population that doesn't have very much COVID, you'll get false positives almost half the time.
You heard her. That's not some crank, and by the way, that's not some liberal. That's a nonpartisan Deputy Public Health Officer of Ontario. Okay, let's get back to this memo. Let's see if we can get through it in 5 minutes. I can't believe I'm spending time on this, but I'm getting this memo 10, maybe 20 times a day. Enhanced lockdown restrictions, referred to as the third lockdown, will be implemented. Full travel restrictions will be imposed, including inter-province and intercity, expected the second quarter of 2021. Again, this ain't coming from Trudeau. It is true that Justin Trudeau has put restrictions on the United States. I'll make you a prediction, and I'm not going to call it a memo. I'll tell you that as soon as Donald Trump's election is over, those restrictions will be lifted because it's purely political. I see that Calgary has already moved away from this. Calgary is doing a national pilot project that the 14-day quarantine will be replaced by a 2-day quarantine because they're going to have speedier tests. Full travel restrictions imposed. The interprovincial travel barriers in Canada were not done by Justin Trudeau. They were done at the provincial level by the Atlantic premiers, some of whom are liberal and some of whom are conservative. Transitioning of individuals into universal basic income program, I don't know what that has to do with anything other than, yeah, Trudeau loves to spend. I'm sure he would do that if he could. Projected supply chain breakdowns, inventory shortages, large economic instability, expected late 2021. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there hasn't really been a lot of that. And yeah, obviously the economy has been disrupted. This is just padding. Deployment of military personnel into major metropolitan areas, as well as all major roadways to establish travel checkpoints, restrict travel and movement, provide logistical support to the area, expected by the third quarter of 2021. I acknowledge that the military under Justin Trudeau has done some really stupid things. They did have some Operation Laser memo about how they would monitor Twitter and engage in propaganda. And we did see the military briefly deploy to help in some old folks' homes, which I thought was really bizarre also. Again, I'm not here to defend Justin Trudeau. I'm sure he would be as abusive with the police as we see in the UK. But to say that the PMO would tell a committee of fundraisers these things is absurd. This is a dream, fantasy, brainstorming, hypothetical scenario. And if it's looked at for that reason, that's what Odessa says. You have to decide if it's real or not. This could be what we face if we don't change course. All right, that's a useful thought experiment. Here's a thought experiment about what could happen. But how about we focus on what is happening and who is really doing it? Justin Trudeau does not make me wear a mask when I go into a store in Toronto. That was done by an alleged conservative named John Tory, the mayor, and an alleged conservative named Doug Ford, the premier. Justin Trudeau does not stop restaurants from opening in Toronto. That was done by Tory and Ford. If you're mad, and I'm mad, and I've written a book on it called China Virus, how about focus on where the real problems are? Yeah, Justin Trudeau's an idiot. He's a pro-communist, pro-China, lazy, drug-addled, gropey weirdo. There's a lot to criticize about him. But imagining that he gets on the blower with a bunch of low-ranking fundraisers and door knockers and say, hey guys, let me tell you what I'm secretly planning here in the Prime Minister's office. I'm going to tell the Strategic Planning Committee of the Liberal Party. You think Justin Trudeau consults with his party about what he's going to do? Throw it back up. Let's finish up. Let's finish up the memo. Along with that provided roadmap, the Strategic Planning Committee, what Strategic Planning Committee? Was asked to design an effective way of transitioning Canadians to meet a unprecedented economic endeavor, one that would change the face of Canada, forever alter the lives of Canadians. What we were told. Told by who? Why don't you use a name? Was that in order to offset what was essentially an economic collapse on an international scale, the federal government was going to offer Canadians a total debt relief. This is how it works. The federal government will offer to eliminate all personal debts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, etc., which all funding will be provided. This is, really? This is, you were told, who told you this? To Canada by the IMF, which will become known as the World Debt Reset Program. Really? In exchange for acceptance of this total debt forgiveness, the individual would forfeit ownership of any and all property and assets forever. Why wouldn't you just get a mortgage then? The individual would also have to agree to partake in the COVID-19 and COVID-21 vaccination schedule, which would, like, look, if you want to talk about forced vaccination, can you please come back to earth for a minute and can we have a grown-up conversation about what will happen when a vaccine is produced? Can we talk about that instead of the IMF giving home ownership loans or whatever? Like, can you just please come back to earth for a minute? Through the use of photo identification referred to as Canada's Health Pass, committee members asked who would become the owner of the forfeited property and assets in this. Yeah, that's what committee members asked. In that scenario, and what would happen to lenders of financial institutions, we were simply told the World Debt Reset Program will handle all of the details. I'm not saying that Justin Trudeau isn't a stupid, submissive globalist, but I'm sorry, this feels like I'm reading a high school sci-fi dystopian novel written by a really imaginative kid in grade 12. Several committee members also questioned what would happen to individuals if they refused to participate in the World Debt Reset Program or the Health Pass or the vaccination schedule. And the answer we got was very troubling. Essentially, we were told it was our duty to make sure we came up with a plan to ensure that would never happen. We were told it was in an individual's best. I can't even believe I'm reading this. Do you really think that door knockers and party fundraisers were said, guys, we need you to come up with the plan for this financial and do you think Justin Trudeau, instead of asking his staff, his chief of staff, his advisors, his experts, Theresa Tam, public health, so we've heard mention of the military, we've heard mention of the IMF, we've heard mention of a lot of government institutions, but Justin Trudeau is asking the door knocking guy and the lawn sign guy, hey guys, it's really up to you to make sure this happens. I can't believe I've just spent 20 minutes going through this. That is not a real email, people. That is a thought exercise by someone who doesn't know how things work jurisdictionally, by someone who is not paying attention to the difference between cases and hospitalizations, by someone who doesn't know how the Liberal Party works and what its purpose is. There are little Easter eggs of half-truths in there. There are indeed 11 detention centers in Canada. There are plans to look at more. There are half-truths there. Justin Trudeau is spending like a drunken sailor, but he's doing so on a government scale. The idea that the IMF would do a personal loan to you in exchange for you giving them the title to your house that's science fiction. That's a really cool story, bro. I think you should make like a Netflix dystopian future called COVID-21. I think there's a great script in here called COVID-21. I think it's a good low budget movie like Sharknado. And if you can put aside, like the Sharknado, well, sharks aren't in tornadoes. Okay, well, just suspend your disbelief and have some fun. Have some fun watching Sharknado. Have some fun watching COVID-21. What irks me is that serious people are grabbing onto this. And why does that irk me? Because I don't like my friends being gullible. And I don't want people to focus on fake threats. As I say to our staff around here from time to time, the world is crazy enough as it is. We don't need to indulge in conspiracy theories. The craziest stories are just lying right in public view. It's just that the mainstream media ignores them. We do not need to create typographically and grammatically irregular emails by members of the strategic committee who were told by the PMO these deep secrets. We don't need to create, if you want to indulge in a thought process, game out some scenarios, hypothetical situations, and that's how Odessa framed it there. Hey guys, I don't know if this is true, but it could become true if we don't fix things. All right, I get it. You're getting people's imaginations working on what could happen if things go wrong. But don't pretend that this hypothetical situation is real. Because Justin Trudeau is an enormous problem. But you know who's shutting down the restaurant across the street here? His name's John Tory and Doug Ford. And yeah, Justin Trudeau is the reason our border with the United States is still closed. Yeah, I grant you that. And Trudeau is looking at having some detention facilities. Yes, he is. But this absurd, the International Monetary Fund is going to make a deal with you that you give them your house and they relieve you. Like, what are you doing? I guess I'm slightly embarrassed for some of my friends who are sending me this. And part of me says, well, who cares? It's harmless enough. But I would much rather my friends, especially those who purport to be politically sophisticated activists, I would much rather if they actually fought against the real problems that we might actually be able to solve. I know sometimes we do fun things like the masks are useless thing and the I am exempt. I don't even regard this as a gimmick. I think this is a number one way to regain your mental health as you go out and about the city. I mean, we do fun things and we brainstorm and we have a good time here. But living in an alternative reality, a parallel universe where that memo is real, that's not healthy. I would like to invite anyone who read that Facebook post or that email, it's been on so many blogs, I would invite whoever read that and was alarmed by it to come back down to earth, bring with you your concern for civil liberties, bring with you your concern for national sovereignty and for freedom, and deploy your concern and your energy and your passion and your resources and your time towards fighting the real problems. And if I had to give you one practical tip today, it would be this. Daydreaming is fun. Sharing things on Facebook is fun. But if I had to give you one practical tip to do something actually useful, it would be this. Contact your federal Conservative MPs and say, where the hell are you on this pandemic fight? Pierre Poilievre has been strong on the financial side. I grant him that. But where on the personal liberty side, on the ending the perpetual state of emergency? A lot of these powers come from the fact that the one thing Justin Trudeau is on the hook for is the state of emergency, but he doesn't have that power alone. The federal emergency status is something that must be renewed by all of Parliament. And in fact, as Sam Goldstein told us about 6 months ago, any group of, I think it's 20 MPs, it might be 30, can demand that Parliament reconvene to reconsider the emergency state. So we don't have to wait for Justin Trudeau to stop being a tyrant. The Conservative Party can actually help force the issue by calling for an end to the emergency state. The Conservative Party can decide to advocate for freedom even outside its jurisdiction. It can just speak up. It can stop going through the public health theater of wearing masks and freaking out and socially distressing everyone. If you want to send an email, if you want to get revved up, do me a favor. Don't send me a crackpot email about the IMF coming in to buy your house personally. They're not interested in buying your house. Don't send me a crackpot email about Justin Trudeau banning the restaurant on your street. He didn't. That was Doug Ford or John Tory or whatever your premier or mayor is. If you want to make a difference, tell your Conservative MPs to read, what's it called, the Emergency Measures Act or something? It's the successor to the War Measures Act. Tell your Conservative MPs to start speaking out against this mask madness, this lockdown madness, this dictatorship of the public health officials, unelected as they are. If you've got an hour to kill instead of working yourself up on this fake memo, how about call your MP and tear a strip off them for being so submissive and obedient and invisible? That's what I would say. I don't know. If you want to believe that memo, go ahead. What do I care? It's really no skin off my nose. But I would prefer it if you were on the ground fighting the real battles and trying to encourage people who have some power to use it. All right, I'm going to wrap up there. That was about 45 minutes longer than it should have been. My friends, thanks for joining. Oh, we got Super Chats. Well, lots of news in my ear. I hear breaking news, and we saw a tweet to this effect the other day, that Sudan and Israel have made a peace agreement. There's Donald Trump, huge win today for the United States and for peace in the world. Sudan has agreed to a peace and normalization agreement with Israel, with the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. That's 3 Arab countries to have done so in only a matter of weeks. More will follow. That is incredible. And by the way, I don't think this was even brought up in the debates, not even yesterday. 3 Arab countries have made peace with Israel in the last few weeks. If that was under Barack Obama, they would give him, as I said the other day, the Nobel Peace Prize and the Nobel Economics Prize and the Nobel Chemistry Prize. They would. I mean, that is such a staggeringly huge, previously thought impossible goal. And it's just, it didn't even come up in the debate. Of course not. Joe Biden's foreign policy was shipping billions of dollars to Iran. Anyways, that is interesting news. Thanks for that. I got a few super chats here. Larry Jackson, $5. Can you give us an update on the Patrick Brown issue? There is no update. We are appealing the ticket. We're demanding rigorous disclosure, and I think that'll probably start revving up in the new year. But we're fighting it. MEC, $5. BC election, leftist, socialist, no point. Can't wait to move. Love Odessa, love Rebel. Thank you, Ezra. I like Odessa too. I think she's one standard deviation more radical than us, but I admire her get up and go. And my point about reading her intro there is she says, don't know if this is true or not. Contact your people if you don't want it to be true. That's the right approach. But my friends, I'm telling you that is not a real memo. The Brzezinski, $10. I think that is why folks believe it, because of the request for bids on building camps, and who knows, the government may change it that spring date. Look at Australia, another reason folks believe it. Okay, there are reasons folks find it plausible, and as a thought exercise, it's useful. But can we just call it a thought exercise? I don't know, maybe I shouldn't care. Believe it, knock yourself out. No skin off my nose. Dr. $5, perhaps the memo is purposeful disinformation. Well, that's what gets me. Because I hear the sneering of the anti-fake news, anti-disinformation activists at the CBC and the Toronto Star. There are battalions of journalists who basically exist to call you a liar while they lie on behalf of power. And that's one reason I don't want our side of the aisle to fall prey to hoax or to circulate disinformation. I mean, for example, let's say we had done a report on this hoax and given it the veneer of truth. Well, now we can be discredited as a source of fake news. No, I don't want that to happen. I want to be reliable. I want people to rely on Rebel News and say they always exercise some judgment. They check things out. They don't run with half-baked ideas. We can trust them because from time to time we say things that are so shocking and startling, we need people's trust to believe us. That's why we put an emphasis on truth. And one of the great things about doing videos is you can show the truth. I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you with your own eyes, you can see it. This memo, from removed to removed. I can't tell you who I am. I can't tell you who told me this. Just someone in the PMO. I'm not going to tell you what committee I'm on. I'm on various, like come on. There's no fact checking there whatsoever. To run that secondhand, third-hand, fourth-hand hearsay, you'd be nuts to do it. And so I don't want our side of the aisle to be overtaken by fakes, and that might be disinformation. That might be someone on the left who's going to say, ta-da, fooled you. I actually wrote that to see how dumb you guys are, and you all went for it. Why not? Arlene Williamson, $5. Do you think Trudeau and his friends will be receiving the contracts for these detainment concentration camps? What's the real reason for them? Well, they say they're for quarantine and other purposes. Watch my 13-minute video elsewhere on this channel. It wouldn't surprise me if you have hotel companies bid for them. It wouldn't surprise me if you had private prison companies in the States bid for them. We'll find out. Gerald McInnes, $7. Glad you cleared that up. Thanks. Moving overseas for work. I want a country to come back to. Love you, rebels. Keep our nut jobs accountable. Yeah, it's a full-time job, and I thank you for your support. It is 1:30. I'm going to say goodbye. Until tonight, at my 8 p.m. show on Rebel News Plus, which you really should subscribe to, I think. Just go to rebelnews.com and click subscribe. Until then, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters, to you and home, goodbye, and keep fighting for freedom.
You can do it, my love. You've got this. You're a smart boy. I know you.
Poor dog.
Oh, we've got to inform the council and get these posts moved right away. Oh, come on. Move it to the side. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.